Greetings, Cap fans, and welcome to episode 159 of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. I'm Rick Verbanis, and I am your host today. And as always, I'm joined by the best gosh darn co-host out there. That is, he goes by Bob Lucius. Oh, Bob. I see nothing. I hear nothing. Colonel Hogan, please.
That's I haven't heard the heroes in a long time. Rick.
Yeah.
I used to watch those all the time on reruns as a kid.
I know. And whose heroes was it, Bob?
Mr. Hogan.
That's right. Colonel.
Well, he's
Colonel
retired now.
Well, he's been dead for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Under very suspicious circumstances, might I add.
Yeah. Poor Mr. Bob Kane. Yeah. Still unsolved to this day.
Yeah.
But anyway, wait. We're getting off track here. What am I talking about? I'm talking about you already guessed. It was Hogan's Heroes. But why, Bob? Why am I bringing up Hogan's Heroes today?
Well, I suspect we're going to read a story about fun-loving Nazis.
There will be a lot of German words that I learned from watching Hogan's Heroes.
Of course, yes.
Achtung!
The important ones, right? Yes. The important ones you learn from Hogan's
Schnell! Heroes. Right? Yes. Yeah. But more importantly, what year did Hogan's Heroes debut?
I really don't know. I'm going to take a stab at it. Was it 1965?
It was, Bob. It was 1965. And why is that important, Bob?
Well, that seems a very coinkydink because I think the books we're going to be reviewing tonight came out in circa 1965.
You would be correct by assuming that, Bob. Yeah. And once again, it comes full circle. So yes, we are covering today. We're going back to 1965, and you may say, but wait a minute, Captain America didn't have his own series back then, and you would be correct. But he did have his own solo tale in half of the book of the series, Tales of Suspense, which he shared with Tony Stark, Iron Man. And so that happened as of episode. I always do that. Episode issues, I get them mixed up. I got another funny story for you. I'll tell you in a second. But in issue 59 is when Cap came on board as his own solo series. So we're going to cover today issues 69 through 71. So basically, don't fear, it's not going to take forever. It's not 3 whole issues, it's 3 half issues, and in fact it's a total of 30 pages. So we should be able to get through those, but knowing me, I'll go on a few tangents and we'll be here for a while.
Right. Yeah. Let's you have any episodes to go on right now? I mean, tangents.
But sometimes I do have an episode. No, it's funny. I'm laughing because yesterday I had this monthly report at work, and I'm in this large conference room I booked, and it was me, there was my boss, and nobody else. Everybody else dialed in. Okay, so they didn't bother coming into the office and coming into this meeting. So it's just me and my boss. We're sitting there in this big tables, big conference room, and we got the screen up, and I got my report, and I'm sharing it via the I don't want to say Zoom. It wasn't Zoom, but you know what I mean. It was whatever. So, and I'm sharing it, and people are, watching it, and I'm doing most of the talking. And every once in a while, somebody will have a question, and then I asked the agency, because he had the agency on the call, to help explain something, and I said, "Can you take the listeners through this?"
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm trying to visualize what it was like, Rick. And in my mind's eye, I know it was probably you and your boss and just like nothing else. Right. But in my mind's eye, what I see is Captain America, the Winter Soldier, where Robert Redford, is the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that whole like star chamber, all holographic figures around the table, tuning in from all over the world. Tell me it was like that.
It was totally like that.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah, it was totally like that. And then they gave a speech.
And then you gave a speech. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it turns out my
Did you do voices?
Yes,
parts?
I love doing that. I started doing different voices when and I said, and in this quarter, what we did over here.
Nice.
Anyway, so, the funny thing too is, there's a few people here that, at work that know I do a podcast, and, it's a side of me I'm sure they've never seen or never imagined to see before, because I'm, I have a sense of humor at work, but nothing like this. And so somebody brought it up in a meeting. It was one of the larger team, and someone said, "Oh, Rick, you've got a podcast." I'm like, mm-hmm. And they're like, what? And one of the, heads of the department was like, "Oh, you do? What is it? What is it? Tell everybody so we can all listen in." I was like, no, it's okay. You don't want to hear me.
Yeah, it's really boring sciencey stuff.
Yeah.
Or no, like medieval literature. Probably wouldn't be interested.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Medieval woman.
That's what I tell people. It's a medieval literature. It's mostly in Latin. So, yeah. Old English. Probably not something you'd be interested in.
Yeah. And then you follow up with, Jesus is your savior, right? And then they're like, they're tuning you out.
I gotta go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm editing that out.
Oh, my goodness. That's good.
All right. Yeah. So that's kind of been going on with me. I know you've been pretty packed at work with being a little understaffed.
Yeah.
That's what she said. But do you how's it going?
It's going better. I got a couple great candidates for one of the positions. One of them quite by surprise, and
she had her in a surprise position.
She looked like she might be a good fit.
Oh yeah.
So now I just got to fill the other two positions, and we'll be good to go. So, but it was this weekend very steep learning curve, because I let some folks go, and they had some particular skill sets around some particular software applications that we use for planning and publishing, events and stuff like this. And I had no idea how to use any of them. And so I had to learn how to use all these different applications this weekend.
That's frustrating, right?
To get because October 1st is when our season starts. And we had to get all of the stuff published by October 1st so that we can start getting people ticketed and making some money.
Mm-hmm. Well, everything worked out fine?
Worked out okay. Yeah.
I noticed you have a little less hair.
Does it look that way? Yeah, maybe. I think it's starting to fall out around the edges.
Yeah, it's turning white everywhere.
It really is. Yeah. Getting some more wrinkles. But hey, on a good note, I've been stressing about this. I got to do a golf tournament fundraiser. Last year's was canceled. This year, so it's my first one. I don't even know how to play golf. I took a course in college, and that's the last time I played golf, other than miniature. And today we hit the 40,000 mark, which was my goal. $40,000 in sponsorships and registrations and stuff like that.
Excellent. So, congratulations.
So very excited about that.
Yeah. For work, I don't travel for work. I'm very, very fortunate. I rarely have to travel, maybe like once a year. And sure enough, we have a week in the first week of December. I'm going to Scottsdale, Arizona. Never been there.
That's nice.
Yeah. I hear it's a dry heat. And so
well, it's not the heat, it's the humanity.
That humanity. And anyway, so I'm just like, and it's on this like really, really nice place, and they have golf and everything. And I'm like, I asked my boss, I'm like, do I got to take golf lessons before going on this trip? I mean, I haven't played. I think I've played a total of 3 rounds of golf in my entire life, and it was all in the 90s.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's been 25 years, and I wasn't good at it then.
Just hop on eBay, get yourself one of those old Wii sets, and you can play golf in your living room.
Why would I want to do that?
Then you can practice your golf in the living room.
Oh, Wii.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm getting a small set. What do you? It's a Wii set.
It's a Wii tiny set. Yes. Yeah, it's a great way. Then you could just practice I'm sure it's completely the same. So.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. I won't embarrass myself at all.
No.
Bob, so Facebook group. I had a little bit of a disagreement.
Oh, a dust up.
A little bit. With some people or two guys in the group. And this is rare, very rare. Most people are very, very like, I get the rules. You know, I'm good with it. But, you know, we have over 5,000 members in the group.
Yeah.
There's gonna be, you know, a couple, a handful of people who just don't like the rules.
Yeah, sure.
And then that's gonna happen, right? Yeah. Over the course of over 3+ years, I don't, you know, it hasn't been very much, but I got the because somebody was just raining on somebody's parade, right? They were excited. They posted about this statue, and somebody came on and was like, sorry, I just don't like it, you know, and went on for a little bit. And then I got, you know, just explained like, you know, hey, please see rule number 2. Here's a link, you know, explaining everything, you know, let's not rain on people's parade, you know, what would Cap do kind of thing.
Right.
And then this other guy came in and he gave the whole, what would Cap do? He would honor my rights to free speech.
He'd honor my rights to rain on someone's parade.
Yeah.
And that's what Cap's known for.
Yeah. And listen, I get it. I get it that people, Cap would honor. If there was an argument between two people and Cap would side with the person saying, well, he's got a right to free speech. I may not like it, but it's fine. But that's not the issue.
Yeah.
The issue is we have rules in the group. People agreed to the rules in the group. And when we say what would Cap do, we don't mean after the fact. We mean like literally, what would Cap do? If he sees something that he like, I don't know, a statue he doesn't like, would Cap go on there and go, yeah, you know what? I don't like it. And it's, you know, and go on, give reasons. No, he wouldn't. He would do what his mom told him to do. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yeah. Or just say congratulations. Nice pickup.
Yeah.
Happy for you.
I can't tell you how many times I did that to you, Bob.
I know. And I appreciate that. Yes. Thank you. You know, I can tell you, Rick, I don't know, how long have we been at this? 3.5 years?
Something like that. Yeah.
Since the Facebook group started, like April. So you started like in February or something, right? I've interacted with hundreds and hundreds of people. I've had hundreds and hundreds of posts, right? I have a bad memory. You know that.
Yeah.
But there are 2 interactions that I remember in 3 years. And they both have to do with me posting something that I got. You know, one time it was a piece of art. I think another time it was a collectible, and somebody else had to rain on my parade. Right? Oh, the ink looked dry on that, or, you know, I don't like that. It was cheap quality or something like that. 2 times in 3 years. And those are the only interactions I remember. And maybe I'm just thin skinned, but I'm like, you know, why do that? Right? Why not just be happy for people? Happy that people are happy, right? But there's precious little of that sometimes in the world. Let's just make other people happy.
Right. And that's exactly why we have the rule that we do.
Yeah.
And that's why our group is different from every other group out there.
Oh my God, is it?
And we get, listen, for the couple handful of people who complain, I have had dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of people say, I love this group. Thank you for keeping the rules that you have and keeping it clean and you know, you know, when, you know, keeping it positive and that's the whole point of the group. So
it is, you know, anyway, we all have a bad day every now and again, right? Maybe we say something, we make a comment we don't mean, and we get called out on it. Just like own it, right? And say, oh, you're right. You know, you don't need
and there's been people who've done that too. Like, got it. Sorry. Yep, you're right.
We all do it. So
right. Exactly. All right, Bob. Birthdays. There's not too many birthdays coming up this week. If you're listening on the day this comes out, this is October 18th. Well, the only ones I could see that were somewhat Captain America related. Mike Manley. He's been a penciler, mostly an inker, over the years. He did ink Ron Garney. I believe, at the end of volume 1. His birthday, October 19th. So happy birthday to Mike. And then Paul Levitz. Now, Paul Levitz, if I would have mentioned this a year ago, you've been like, what? He's strictly DC. He's been a DC, editor, publisher, writer, and so on. But there was a 5-issue miniseries that Paul wrote called Avengers: War Across Time. And it's, and by the way, this guy, he's a big name creator. He actually is in the Eisner Hall of Fame because of his career at DC Comics. And this was his first ever Marvel story. And I haven't read it yet. I can't wait to pick it up. And he did it. Alan Davis was the artist. And it basically goes back to the early days of the Avengers. And anyway, so happy birthday to Paul Levitz this October 21st.
Reminds me of a furniture store.
Oh, get yours at Levitt's or something like that.
Well, where I grew up, I remember the ads all the time. You love it at Levitt's.
Yeah, I do. That too? Yeah. Was that regional?
Must be. I was New England, so I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
But I was watching the Philadelphia TV stations, and I'm pretty sure it was in that region too.
Wow.
Yeah, love it at Levitt's. Do you remember? Hey, where'd everybody go? They went to Betson's, where you can buy it cheaper. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that one.
Oh, that was some low quality commercials. Yeah. They would just be like some guy, the spokesperson, he might have been the owner, I don't know. He was this kind of heavy white guy, middle-aged, and he would just be doing something, and all of a sudden there'd be like a jump cut, and then everybody's gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then he'd like look at the camera and be like, put his hands in the air. Hey, where'd everybody go? And then they're like, they went to Betson's, where you can buy it.
I think he moved
cheaper.
down here because there's a furniture guy on TV down here, and he shows up with his wife and his like 2 teen daughters, and he's like a heavy set guy. And they're all heavy set, and they got a really like heavy Southern accent. And like they're talking like, oh, we got chandeliers, He's like, oh, thanks, baby, to his daughter. And then he's like, you don't have to drive all the way to North Carolina anymore, because apparently people used to drive to North Carolina to get furniture. I don't know, but now you don't have to, baby. So,
yeah, well, yeah. Don't they make furniture in North Carolina?
I think they do. A lot of furniture places.
Yeah, a lot of manufacturers there. Yeah.
But you don't have to drive there anymore.
Apparently not. Wow. Can you do more Southern accents? Because that was amazing.
I bet. Yes. It endeared me to everybody who lives in the South, who listens to the show. I'm sure.
Come on. Say something like, bless your heart.
All right. I am not going down that road. You're the voice man, Rick. Yeah.
Pretend it's a sound.
I'm here for the insightful research.
all the prep. All right.
All the prep work, buddy.
Okay.
I'm like the colonoscopy of this show.
You're like the Roto-Rooter,
Mr. Prep. Yeah.
Of this show. You got any coming up? Why is that on your mind?
No, I got nothing coming up. No colonoscopies coming up.
No, I gotta tell you what though, man. I missed the days where you and I were competing with each other to lose weight. I've gained a little weight over the summer. I did.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I started taking some medication, and one of the side effects is like weight gain. So I'm hoping.
Is it called potato chips? Are you on potato chips? Is that what it is? It has a medicinal quality of all of its own.
Yeah, I'm on vitamin pizza.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm at the highest I have been since pre-COVID. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who'd be like, wow, that's pretty good, because most people gained weight during COVID. I was the opposite. I lost weight during COVID, and I gained like 10 pounds back. And on a guy my size, 10 pounds is hard to hide.
Yeah. That's like a whole other leg.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I need to get back onto counting calories and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. Go get him, Tiger.
I was waiting for you to say something like, well, Rick, from the camera, you look the same from the bus shot that I see.
Yeah.
Right?
Your bust looks exactly the same. That's what I was thinking. Yes.
Very buxom. But you'll notice Bob's not saying, and Rick's skin tight outfit.
No, I just want the viewers to imagine what you might be wearing. Why ruin the fantasy?
Yeah. It's funny is I am wearing an appropriate Captain America t-shirt for tonight's because it's a Jack Kirby shirt, right? And it's from Tales of Suspense, I believe. And so I'm wearing this appropriate shirt. But and I'm sure James Foley will appreciate this. I am also wearing my Captain America underwear.
Nice.
And because it is Tuesday. And I got this for Christmas last year, and so I go to the gym at work.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure no one's around when I'm putting them on.
Yeah.
Right. And so sure enough, I'm there today.
Yeah.
I got my boss on my right side. I got a colleague on my left side.
Oh, yeah.
And we're having a conversation, and the one on my left is talking to the one on my right. So they're looking at each other, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go forward and do this.
Yeah. And they both stop and they go, hey, nice underoos.
They didn't say a word, but
well, not to you.
I know. Yeah. They waited for me to leave. Right.
Yeah.
Things I do for this show.
I know you are dedicated.
I really am. I try to put myself in the right mindset.
Yeah.
And
this might surprise you. And I don't want to keep going on tangents, but this might surprise you, Rick. But I have, including one that you gave me, a lot of Captain America t-shirts. And I don't wear them because I'm afraid of wearing them out.
Why does that not surprise me?
Yeah, it's true, right? I have a whole drawer of them.
So basically, I should never give you a t-shirt again.
Well, no, I love having them. I'm saving them for a special occasion.
You can only wear one of them in your casket.
That's true. Yeah. So it's weird. I don't know. I can't explain it. I need therapy. I know, but I can't afford it because I'm buying collectibles.
Well, retail therapy. That's what you're doing.
That's what I'm doing.
Sure. Yeah, that's what we're all doing.
Yeah.
Should we get to the comic, Bob?
Let's do it. Okay.
Let me pull this. Excuse me while I whip this out. Do you know what that's to?
I don't.
Oh, that's Blazing Saddles.
Sounds private. Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. Did you ever see it?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Long time
ago. Excuse me while I whip this out. And then the lady faints. Okay, so we're going to get to Tales of Suspense number 69. And this came out, had a cover date of September 65, but it had a release date of June 8th of 1965. And the cover, Bob, it was done by Jack Kirby and Don Heck. Shall you take the listeners through what the cover looks like?
Well, sure, Rick. Unfortunately, Cap only has a very tiny part of this cover. In fact, what about a fifth of that cover, do you think?
Yeah.
And it's the lower, fifth, the bottom fifth of this cover, and it looks like the moors of someplace in northern Britain, right? So these rolling hillsides covered with grasses and wind-swept trees devoid of any foliage, and in the background you see a castle looming up on a rise, and behind that some hills, and in the foreground you see Cap and Bucky. And Bucky is pointing toward the castle, and Cap is in his ready crouch. And then you see, I guess, some sort of title, right? Title on the what is that? What do you call that? Do you know what you call that? That little flag device there where the text, I don't know what it is, but it says midnight in Greymoor Castle.
I'm sorry. You lost me at it is ready crouch. Do you have a ready crouch, Bob?
Oh, I sure do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every morning, right after I eat breakfast and have my coffee, I get into my ready crouch. Sometimes twice. Really depends. If I have my Metamucil the night before.
Oh, you're like a machine.
Yeah. So
yeah. Back in our 20s, a ready crouch meant something totally different.
Totally different. Yeah.
You did a nice job covering the 1/5 of the cover, Bob. Is there anything else on the cover, perhaps?
Well, the rest of it's just Iron Man and Titanium Man. I'm not really interested in that.
But here's the thing, Bob. This is the first appearance of the Titanium Man.
Okay. Again, Rick, there are comic guys and there are Captain America guys. I'm the latter. I only read Captain America comics. I don't, whatever.
Oh, so Titanium Man was kind of like a Russian version of Iron Man. And I'm sure I'm getting it wrong, but I mean, that's in general, if you're going to explain it to somebody. But he was a major villain for Iron Man. And then I think he went on to be a pretty big villain, with part of a group that went on to battle the Avengers or something like that. But, I'm a big Paul McCartney fan. Right after he left the Beatles, he formed a band called The Wings. And there is a song called Magneto and the Titanium Man.
Wow. Is that just coincidental, or is that because it talks about Magneto and the Titanium Man?
It does. Yeah, It mentions it a little bit in there. But it's interesting. Paul McCartney, he liked comics. He read comics. There's a famous picture of him and Linda McCartney standing in front of Jack Kirby, and Paul looked just as excited to meet Jack Kirby as Jack Kirby did to meet Paul.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool.
I know. Yeah.
I thought you were going to like draw my attention to Bucky's hair color.
It is off color. Yes.
Yeah. It is a blondish color in this.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? I'm looking at Marvel Unlimited. I didn't pull out my copies of Tales of Suspense because why do that? Like, why don't get my grubby hands on them?
Right.
So I'd have to go back and take a look to see if that was the case on the original too.
It is. It's not quite as bright as it is in the digital images, but it was certainly blondish brown in that coloring on the original.
So little interesting, we don't talk about the price of comics too much on this show. I think we should, I think people who listen to this show and collect Captain America comics probably wouldn't mind hearing every once in a while, like, oh, well, in near mint condition, this goes for that. But listeners, tell me if you could care less, and we'll not listen. But in this, I'm looking up and on comicbookrealm.com, which is a free site, where you can kind of look up prices. And I'm looking up Tales of Suspense, and for this issue in near mint condition, what do you think it goes for?
120.
Not a bad guess. $200.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Now, it is a little bit of a spike over the previous issue. Previous issue was previous two issues were 185, and the next issue is 185. But this one's 200 because, like I said, first appearance of Titanium Man.
Huh. Comic Book Realm, you say? I don't think I've ever used that.
Yeah, I've used them a lot. Especially when I was just trying to look up stuff to sell comics. But yeah, so let's just take a look real quick at 58 is the big one, right? That's the one where Cap comes on and battles Iron Man, and then in 59 is when he has his own solo story. So just when I say big one, I don't mean of Tales of Suspense. I mean of the Cap run, right? So 58, near mint condition, 1425. That's a significant price for a comic.
Sure is, yeah.
59, 1100. Issue 60 drops from 1100 to 650. And then the next couple issues are 360. And then we get a spike with issue 63. That jumps up to 725. That's because that is the origin issue. Then we go back to 360. Then 65, we get a spike because it's the first Silver Age appearance of Red Skull. And that one jumps up to 625. 66 is then the first Silver Age appearance of the real Red Skull. And so that was 400. And then they all, like I said, 185, and then they kind of drop down to 125. Then 75 is 300. That's the first appearance of Peggy Carter and the first appearance of Agent 13 and the first appearance of Batroc the Leaper. So 75 is if you're a Cap fan, that's the issue to get right there. And then they all kind of run, like 100, 105, something like that for a long time. And then it spikes up for issue 94. We covered that one, Bob. What's special about 94?
I can't recall.
That's the first appearance of MODOK.
Ah, MODOK. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then we jump back up again for 97. But that's more for the Iron Man side because his first appearance of Whiplash. 98 is the first meeting of Cap and Black Panther. And then 99 is the last issue right before it goes to Cap, gets his own series with issue 100. So anyway, just a couple of highlights there of what these comics go for, at least in the price guide.
Yeah. So if you're going out this weekend to pick up some issues of Tales of Suspense, hit the ATM first, folks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So getting back to the comic, Bob, the creators for this particular story, right? Because I'm not going to get into the Iron Man story, but in the story Midnight in Greymoor Castle, it's written by Stan Lee, penciled by Jack Kirby, inks by Dick Ayers, and letterer Artie Simic. Don't know who the colorist is. It might have been one of those many hands. I don't have a solicitation, unfortunately, Bob.
Ooh.
All right, so we get to the comic, and the first half is Iron Man, so we'll just skip to the second half. Bob, do you want to read the title to this story?
Midnight in Greymoor Castle.
Nice. Do you want to talk about the font of the title here? It's kind of interesting, a little different.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to describe it. It's in two different fonts. The Midnight is in a sort of a darkish blue toward a much lighter blue. It's a shaded from the top to the bottom. And I'm not quite sure how would you characterize those letters, Rick?
I would disagree with you. I would say it's not two fonts. I'd say it's three fonts. But
okay.
Midnight, yeah, it is a little weird. It's kind of got like a.
I'm not sure.
It's almost like it's I don't know, carved in granite.
Yeah.
Got some like a lump. It's certainly not straight. It's kind of lumpy. But not like doughy, but kind of lumpy, just in the curves of it.
Yeah, and Greymoor Castle, similar. It looks like it might be made out of stone. In this case, it's red. And there's like little chunks missing from the letters at various locations around them. So it's certainly it stands out, catches your attention, and in the three different types of fonts, but the different coloring really draws your eye toward the words, and I don't know, sort of piques my interest.
Yeah, and it draws you to the word midnight, and it's interesting. As I look back on this now, there was nothing about this story that had anything to do with midnight that I can recall. But maybe I'm wrong.
Right,
maybe I'm
yeah.
wrong. Let's keep an eye out for it.
All right.
And then right above that, it says Captain America, Living Legend of World War II. So this is a opening splash page, and splash page means it's one panel, right? So it's just one gigantic panel, and it is a title splash page, which means it has the title to the story. It has typically the creator, listed there, and if this was the first page, it would also have like the indicia or whatever. And so what we're looking at here is Captain America and Bucky from World War II, and they are being held by a some sort of metal belt that goes around their midsection, and it's holding Bucky's arms down, but for whatever reason, it's holding only one of Cap's arms down, and his other arm is free where he's holding the shield. And their legs are just dangling, and they're just looking straight ahead and with no expression on their face whatsoever. And then behind them is, holding this in place is this gigantic contraption that almost looks like one of those gigantic, not somersault, what catapults, right?
Right.
It almost looks like one of those things. And they're in the basement of looks like a castle or a dungeon, and it's dark, and it's lit by some fire, and the people that are holding them captive are wearing, and it looks like more modern day suits of like lead lining protection, for radioactive material. And then underneath the dangling feet of Cap and Bucky is a pit, and there is a large manhole cover, it almost looks like, on top of it, and it's got a big gigantic chain, and someone is pulling it away, and there's a yellow glow that's coming out from underneath. And it says, in the most desolate part of Britain stands silent, foreboding Greymoor Castle, and within its cold stone walls, in the dead of night, we find. And then we see the picture that I just described. And the guy in the background says, "Now, remove the lead-lined cover and expose them to the deadly radiation below." And I got to tell you, Bob, when I first saw this, I was like, uh-oh, are we starting with the wrong issue? Did I miss something? I
felt exactly the same way.
I went back to 68, and I looked at the end of it, and I was like, oh, no. Yeah. This was just Jack Kirby and Stan's way of pulling the reader in. And it made you feel like, oh, I'm like in the middle of something. And sure enough, here we are. And I'm going to read the credits at the bottom, because I told you who the people are, but I always like what they like to call themselves. So this says script by Friendly Stan Lee, layouts by Frolicsome Jack Kirby, rendering by Frivolous Dick Ayers, and then lettering by Fearless Artie Simic. Now, just as a reminder to everybody, the difference between layouts and penciling is layouts are rougher. So Jack Kirby went and came up with the panels, put the characters and the main things in there, but it was Dick Ayers who came in and finished it. And so basically there's more than just inking. It's adding detail. It's maybe adding background. It's doing things like that. So Jack Kirby, while this is his layouts, it's not necessarily his complete work, which we maybe have seen before. And that's because he's probably doing 10 issues, this month. All right, so we go to the next page and we hear somebody who is in one of those lead-lined costumes. Out of the way, all of you. I shall now intensify the radiation. Even your protective flexi-lead suits will not shield you completely from the fatal rays. And now, at the press of a button, we'll learn whether my great experiment has been worthwhile. The two strangely lifeless figures remain completely motionless as the concentrated radiation engulfs them. As with each passing second, the immobile forms grow smaller, ever smaller, until finally, it is over. The experiment is a complete success. Have Major Uberhart brought here at once. Moments later, and we see a small Cap and Bucky in a glass jar in the palm of this man's hand. And he took his mask off. And how would you describe that scientist, Bob?
Well, he is a late middle-aged gentleman with spectacles. He is he's balding at the top of his head with some hair. He looks like Mr. Prisbilla, who was my sixth grade algebra teacher. So if anybody
I was going to say the
him,
same thing.
Yeah, looks just like him. Has hair around the sides of his head and quite a few wrinkles and some jowls. He's clearly a doctor of some sort of researcher. He's wearing a white lab coat that conveys his sciencey background. Yeah, he looks like he might be like he'd have bad teeth as well.
Well, never mind. So how would you describe Major Uberhart?
Well, he is he's clearly a Nazi officer, and he's wearing a Nazi uniform with the that iron cross, hanging at his neck, and the Reichstag eagle on his hat, which he's wearing inside. And he's got the leather calf-high boots and the black pinstripe down the side of his uniform. It's your standard Nazi SS looking uniform.
I am satisfied. The Red Skull shall be pleased. You are a genius, Dr. Rawlings. Dr. Rawlings, why does that sound familiar? It's like a play on another German scientist's name. Rawlings.
It doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. All right. I shall return to Berlin for further orders. You wait here until the Red Skull finds a way to send you your 2 costume victims. And then he gives him a Sieg Heil. With the death of Captain America and Bucky, you will be acclaimed our greatest scientist. It would be my supreme triumph. No sooner has the Nazi departed than another enters the gloomy chamber. As he's sitting there at his desk, his table, looks like he's writing notes. In the background, there's a armor, right?
Yeah, suit of armor, right? Medieval armor, right? Yeah,
holding a big
halberd.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we see a woman walking up in a long red dress, and she says, "I could not help overhearing, Cedric. You must be mad to join with the enemy. I've warned you, Celia. Keep out of this. There's no concern of yours." "But you are my brother. I cannot bear to watch you destroy your life, become a traitor to your own country." "Bah! I want more than my country can give me. I want fame, glory, power. But the Nazis will merely use you, as they've used so many others. None of them can be trusted, least of all the demoniacal Red Skull. I shall take my chances. There's too much at stake to stop now. Besides, why should I not trust the Nazis? I've devoted my life to science, and rewards have passed me by. All I have to show for my years of toil is this." "What is it, Bob?"
He's got a mechanical hand. His right hand seems to have been replaced by mere metal and gears.
Well, it didn't stop Luke Skywalker.
That's true. Yeah, or Anakin for that matter.
Well, kind of, I don't know. He went down a path, right?
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't stop Jaime Lannister.
Who's Jaime Lannister, Rick?
That would be Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
And he goes, "This, the results of an accident caused by another's carelessness. Your carelessness. You need not remind me again. It is the only reason I remained at your side, even though I loathe you for what you have become." Meanwhile, a weary company of rangers returns from a forced march in another section of Britain. Pick 'em up and lay 'em down. Keep 'em in step. Straighten them eyeballs. This ain't a USO dance. Go kiss a grenade. Who said that? Who said that? Rogers, you knuckle-headed, knock-kneed, gold-brickin' meatball. Was that you? Gosh, no, Sarge. Somebody must have beat me to it. All right, fall in. I'll pulverize the next Joe who opens his fat yap. Who's that, Bob?
That would be Sergeant Michael Duffy.
Yeah, he was the first pick in your draft.
He sure was. Yeah. He's had a long history with Steve Rogers.
Good thing you made him your first pick, because I would have taken him if you hadn't.
I love a Mike Duffy.
Wow, looks like there's a big push coming up. No wonder they've been training the Hyde office lately. Keep the column moving. On the double. Let's go, you guys. And there's Bucky in his soldier uniform. Not that he's a soldier, but you know, not his Bucky uniform.
Yeah.
Here comes Steve's unit. Wonder if he's heard the big drive. All right, you crumbums are on alert, so nobody leaves the area. That means nobody. See? All right. Fall out. There's Bucky. He looks as though he's got a lot on his mind. Howdy, Mr. Barnes. How's our rollicking regimental mascot this fine day? I'm okay, Mr. Rogers, but I was wondering, why get to go on the big drive? Not a chance, lad. You know a teenage mascot can't go into combat with us. But if I'm good enough to fight as Captain America's partner, why can't I? Quiet, Bucky. Don't forget yourself. But gosh, Steve, you know what I can do in a fight. Maybe I'll be needed. Can't I come along in costume? Forget it, kid. Remember our deal. What I say goes, and no argument. Got it, Mr. Barnes? Dun, dun, dun.
Now there's some retconning right there, huh?
But what about you? What if Captain America's needed here while you're gone? That'll be your big chance, Bucky. You'll be able to show what you can do without me. But don't win the whole war until I get back, here? That very night, under a blanket of darkness, a crack ranger task force with heavy artillery and air support strikes out for a Nazi-held port across the channel. Hey, Sarge, how long do you think it'll be before we beat the Nazis and end the war? With you on our side, Rogers? Never. Now shut up and let me get some shut-eye. He was a pleasant man.
He really was.
But even as the hard-hitting assault force approaches the coast, a team of Nazi saboteurs strike at the now undermanned base, which they've just left. The Red Skull is sure Captain America is in the area. If he is, this will bring him and Bucky to the scene. And Bob, they're like blowing up something. But how are they doing it?
With the stand, it's got to be, first of all, they're using the dynamite plunger that you probably remember from a Western, right? But you got to think about how long is that wire? Because that building looks like it's a long way in the distance, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember those old boxes? And then they had like on the top of it, it was almost like a tire pressure gauge, right?
Right. Yeah. Like
how many times you were pumping up air in a tire and you were like pushing that down? You were like pretending you were blowing up something.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
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 Now that I think about you literally were blowing up something.
Wow. Mind blown.
I know. Yeah. Oh, nice play on words. And then the soldiers run out, and Bucky's among them, and there's fire and explosions and everything. And Bucky thinks to himself, you can't have sabotage without saboteurs. And if there are any saboteurs around, that means there's work for Bucky Barnes. It won't be the same without Cap, but it's better than being on the sidelines. And he's got his Bucky Barnes sidekick uniform on. Whoever set that blast off is sure to have done it from outside the camp. And if I'm lucky, maybe I could still find their trail. So he leaps over the fence and goes into the woods. I could have sworn I heard something in the underbrush ahead. It worked. Here comes one of them. Get ready. Now. Jump him. Pin his arms. If he escapes, we'll pay with our lives. The other one is not with him. We can delay no longer. Mach schnell. It's a trap. They were waiting for me, but why? That's a stupid question, Bucky.
Yeah.
Why would you ask, why are they waiting for me?
Huh.
Why would they do this to me? This will put him to sleep. Quick, into the car with him. And they knock him and back of the head. A pity we could not afford to wait for Captain America, but the troops were getting too close. No matter. Once he learns we have captured his young partner, we will waste no time rushing him to our trap to rescue him. Faster! We must reach Greymoor Castle before him. What kind of car is that, Bob?
That looks like a, if I'm not mistaken, Rick, it has a similar look to a Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost.
Is that a German car, Bob?
Rolls-Royce? No, they're British, right?
Oh,
British Rolls-Royce, yeah.
Thus, a short time later, and there is the castle, and there's a full moon, and there's bats flying around.
Of course there are.
We made it. They will never find us now. Let us deliver the boy and be gone. The rest is up to the traitorous Dr. Rawlings. Well, they're starting to call him a traitor.
They're the hired help.
They're begging for help before, and now they're referring to him as a traitor. Oh, and there's somebody holding up a lantern, Bob, but he doesn't quite look 100% human.
He's got a little Quasimodo look going on with him. Yeah. Definitely the Hunchback's British cousin.
Yeah. They come, master. Good. I shall go and prepare the laboratory. Cedric, I beg of you, reconsider while there's still time. Silence, Celia. My moment of glory is almost at hand. Meanwhile, at a coastal town of Nazi-occupied France, we're outnumbered, but the element of surprise is in our favor. And they're at battle, man, right? There's explosions going on. Everybody's got their guns out and they're firing. You got looks like a tank, right? Firing as well.
Yeah, with a gunner on top. And
yeah.
Guy chucking a hand grenade. It looks like it's Kirby's version of the opening scene of like Saving Private Ryan.
Or did Saving Private Ryan read this?
Oh, nice.
Because I haven't thought about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got to complete our mission before the main Nazi force can reach us. So move. Lift them, you guys. Our job is to hit Gestapo headquarters, knock out their records and communications, and then head home. So let's go. And then they break through the door, and you see the Nazis firing at them, and them firing at Nazis. Himmel, Rangers, stop them! In the brief ensuing battle, Private Steve Rogers fights with the same courage and skill that have made the name of his alter ego, Captain America, famous throughout the world, although he takes pains not to divulge his other identity. This is the last of them, except for the upper floor. While the others finish mopping up downstairs, I'll just check out the top of this landing. I could swear I heard a radio transmitter operating. Now, Bob.
Yes.
When you see this staircase going up, I swear when I saw that, I thought of Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, it does. There is a scene like that.
Yeah.
That's not what I thought you were going to point out.
No, but
yeah,
you know, you know that famous scene in Saving Private Ryan, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the most gruesome scenes in the whole movie, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But to me, that's what that looks like.
Yeah. That says a lot, actually, when you say that's one of the most gruesome, because there's a lot of scenes in that movie that can cause you pause. But great movie.
Yeah, there's a lot, but I don't know. It's the one that disturbed me the most because it was a slow death scene.
Yeah,
and that bothered me.
What do you think of this scene right here?
Well, you see Steve Rogers with a machine gun.
With a machine gun, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a soldier in this. He's not Captain America.
Sure. Okay.
He's a soldier in a soldier's role, following soldiers' orders.
Okay. All right.
What do you think, Bob?
Well, I mean, principle is principle, right? I mean, I don't know if you take it on and put it on and take it off when you change your uniform. I was just, going back and looking at this. It surprised me. Right. Because clearly we remember seeing him carrying weapons in the Golden Age books and even in the 1950s books. But I didn't recall these early tales of suspense where he's carrying a weapon.
Yep. Well, again, it's not Captain America carrying the weapon, in my mind.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So he goes into the room. But does he shoot the guy? No. He throws something and hits him in the head, knocks him out.
It's his canteen.
Yeah.
That's why they give him to you.
American swine. And he gets hit in the head. You'll nothing, mister, if I can help it. Good thing I charged in here. Perhaps I can learn something of value from these radio dispatches. Say, what's this one? It concerns Bucky. He's been captured. He's a prisoner scheduled for disposal. You want to read it, Bob?
Lay to the Red Skull. By the way, this is from Agent R16 in the British Isles, in case anybody wanted to know that. Urgent subject, Captain America and Bucky. Boy known as Bucky, prisoner at Greymoor Castle, will be disposed of according to plan. I'm glad Greymoor. That was in English because I wouldn't have been able to read it otherwise.
Greymoor Castle. With luck, I can reach you before dawn. This operation is ended. The others will be returning to base following the prescribed plan of withdrawal. And he crashes out a window. Doesn't open it, Bob. He just jumps out and breaks a window. Interesting. I guess he was really in a hurry. But I've got to return faster. There's an airport just west of here. But in his haste to speed to Bucky's rescue, Steve Rogers failed to read another dispatch, which was on the table. What does it say, Bob?
Stand by your post, paratroops. Panzers on way to trap Rangers and annihilate entire Raider force. You don't like the pronunciation of annihilate?
No, I don't.
It's the British pronunciation.
Annihilate?
Yes. Only Americans would say annihilate.
Yeah.
Entire Raider force. By the way, this is from Field Marshal Schweg.
A dispatch which might spell disaster for Rogers' fellow Rangers, who will soon be within the jaws of a Nazi pincer movement. What's a pincer movement?
It's a pincer. It is the classic.
Oh, am I saying it wrong? I'm saying pincer, but it's pincher?
Yeah. Well, it's again, it's the original spelling, pincer. So it's two prongs where you basically
I crush your head.
You crush it. I see you. Yes. And so, yeah. So it's basically catching a force between two opposing forces converging and trapping it.
Crush your head. Later, as a Luftwaffe fighter prepares to take off from the nearby Nazi airdrome. Airdrome? I don't think it's a word I'm too familiar with. I mean, I'm assuming it's an airport or something, but...
Yeah, I don't think they use that term anymore.
I'm just in time. One quick costume change plus one captured German cycle equals a last-minute extra passenger for that ship, if my luck holds out. And sure enough, Cap's on a motorcycle in his Cap uniform, and he is jumping over, German soldiers inside some sort of sandbag pit that has the machine gun on a turret, and he's racing up behind the plane that is going down the runway. Ach du Himmel, do you see what I see? Made it. Now, if I don't get clipped by a stray bullet, I'll be on my way. Now I've really got to move fast. If I wait till they gain too much altitude, I won't have a chance. And he's holding on, Bob, to the very end of the plane. So he uses his shield to just, I guess, create a hole in it just by pounding through. So I'll smash my way in now while I still can. Gangway, boys. You may not know it, but you just got a new navigator. And he does. He kicks one of the soldiers into the front of the cockpit where there are two more pilots there waiting for him. While back at Greymoor Castle, Cedric, even if you care nothing for yourself or me, think of your country. You're betraying us all. Quite the contrary. The Nazis are sure to win, and when they do, I'll be a hero. Now be silent. This is the moment I've been waiting for. I must prepare the subject for bathing him with Z-Rays. All of you take your positions. You know what to do. And Bucky's strapped to a table, and they're about to put Z-Rays on him, Bob.
Not the Z-Rays.
How can you do this to him, Cedric? He's only a boy. You are too emotional, my dear Celia. It will be your undoing. I am a scientist. To me, he is not merely a subject. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, nothing remains but to await the arrival of Captain America. Once he enters my trap, the great experiment shall begin. And sure enough, Bucky's getting hit with Z-Rays, Bob. I wonder what those Z-Rays may do to him.
I know. Yeah.
They'll probably help him survive when he lands in the water.
Wow. Wow. You have just put your... Has anyone else ever... Is this a Rick Verbana special?
Totally me.
Nice.
If I'm Ed Brubaker, I totally would have gone back to this and said,
I know.
It was the Z-Rays that helped him survive while in the channel.
Yeah. Nice. Nice dive. Yeah.
And even as Cedric Rawlings speaks, I've got to come in low to dodge the radar. So Cap's flying this Nazi plane. I'll land as soon as possible and head for Greymoor Castle. I've got to save Bucky, no matter what they throw against me. Perhaps at this moment, it is best that Captain America doesn't realize that the Ranger unit whom he just left is also in deadly danger. But more of that next issue as thrill follows thrill. All right, Bob. So we're on issue 70 of Tales of Suspense, Volume 1. And this one had a cover date of October 1965, but it had a release date of July 8th, 1965. You know, and I failed to mention this, Bob, but they referred to him as the living legend of World War II. It was only 20 years previously.
Right. Yeah.
World War II ended in 1945. Here it is 1965. And they're calling him the living legend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bob, in 2003, which was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And if you did something and then all of a sudden you came back, would you be the living legend of 2003?
In my own mind, yes. But
yeah.
To other people, no. No.
Yeah.
But you're right, though. It seems rather like a short time frame, right?
It does.
Just a lot had happened in those 20 years. And maybe the fact that like he disappeared for so long, even from publication, right, helped sort of stoke this mythos of the living legend. I like the fact that they use that. I think that's probably real great marketing.
So in this one, we have Stan Lee as the writer, penciler Jack Kirby, but the finisher is George Tuska, and then letterer Sam Rosen. So we will get to that in a moment. You want to describe the cover, Bob?
Well, sure. So yeah, this time Cap has the whole cover.
He does.
We got to like that.
And I'm going to point something out here. I actually did the research. I went back and I looked at all the previous issues of Tales of Suspense, with, you know, where the solo story started in issue 59. Every one of them had a split cover that had Iron Man and Cap. Now, sometimes it was 50-50. Sometimes Cap was more, or Iron Man, or whatever. But it was always a split cover between the two stories. This is the first time that Iron Man is not on the cover.
Huh. Well,
now,
I think
next issue, Iron Man will be solely on the cover, right? And so they're going from splitting it to going back and forth.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I guess maybe who knows? Maybe I wonder what the rationale was for that. Maybe it sold better. Maybe it was just easier. I don't know. Huh, interesting. Well, in this case, the cover is, I think, one of the greatest covers. I love this cover for Tales of Suspense. And we're inside Greymoor Castle. And up in the background, you see Major Uberhard. Is it Uberhart? Or something like that,
Heart,
right? And
yep.
And the heart and a few of his Nazi minions. And in the foreground, we see Bucky. He's still strapped to that darn table. And behind Bucky, there's a
la Schomburg.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And in the background, there's a V2 rocket poised for launch. It's one of those vertical rockets that the Nazis introduced in 1944. And then
can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
All right. I know it's V2 because they mention it as V2 in the story.
Yeah.
But is that how you know it? Or is that a common missile back then? That's a V2 missile.
It was very common. So the V1s were more of a horizontal launch. They kind of looked like an unmanned airplane, like a glider. But the V2s were these basic, rockets that looked very much like, this is a little fancier. The actual V2s didn't have those stabilizing fins. They didn't have those grooves, along them. They're much more basic, right? But the V2s, they launched over and from 1944 through the end of the war, somewhere on the order of around 3,000 of these things at Britain, causing, I don't know, something like 6,000 deaths or something like that, close to around there. So all these, these attacks on London and the other major cities towards the end of the war. So it was a very potent weapon of fear, even if it wasn't particularly accurate. So we just knew it was going to hit the city, right? So it wasn't a great tactical weapon, but from a strategic viewpoint, because it caused so much fear, it was quite a success. And of course, Werner von Braun was one of the Nazi scientists who worked on this, who we absconded with at the end of the war and helped launch our space program. So it's actually, believe it or not, if I can go on, the V2 was the first man-made object that entered space. It actually breached what is known as the Kármán line, the edge of space. And so, a lot of different successes out of that program.
Can I ask a question? How do we know that was the Kármán line, the edge of space, if that was the first man-made thing? How do we know that it broke it if there wasn't like a satellite up there to record it?
Well, I think, probably, who knows? Maybe they used lenses to determine the densities of different layers. I know there's, I talk about this in one of my classes. There's different levels to the atmosphere, right? The mesosphere, the stratosphere, blah, blah, blah sphere, all the way up. And so, they probably used, probably used in many cases, weather balloons, so maybe something got up that high, but it didn't quite break that last layer. And so this was able to break it. But in any case, we've got the V2 in the background, and in the foreground, we've got Cap with his shield, and he is surrounded by 4 guys, I'm assuming, in medieval armor. And they're brandishing different weapons, clubs and broadswords and halberds and all sorts of things. So a lot going on this cover.
Yeah, definitely a Kirby cover with the detail, like, the added detail to the V2 that you mentioned. Just in the foreground here, holding that weapon. One of the knights is holding that. I mean, look at the siding and the detail of that. I mean, that's totally a
nubbins and notches on it.
Yeah. So that was Jack Kirby and Joe Sinnott doing the cover. Captain America, Living Legend of World War II, and the title is
If This Be Treason.
Last ish, we told you how Cap took control of a Nazi plane, but we didn't show the actual takeover scenes. But now we correct that grievous oversight in the Titanic tableau that follows. And sure enough, this is a big, gigantic title splash page, and we see Cap in the airplane, who is swinging from the rafters, and he's kicking towards the viewer and knocking back a German officer who was holding some sort of Tommy gun. And then in the little description here, it says story by Stan Lee, layouts by Jack Kirby, lettering by Sam Rosen, and reintroducing the matchless artistry of one of the giants of the great golden age of comics, art by George Tuska. So it's interesting. It's not embellishments. It's not rendering like they did last issue. It's art by George Tuska, giving him a little bit more credit for this issue.
Yeah, I think that's a term that they used a lot in the Golden Age books, actually, when they started to credit the artists themselves.
What term?
Art.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think I recall ever seeing, like, when they started, obviously in the early books, they didn't really credit anybody, but eventually they started to. And I think more frequently they used art rather than, pencils and inks and colors and those sorts of things. So it was written and art.
Gotcha. This crew is under wraps. Only the pilot and co-pilot remain. Hell, it is der verdammt Captain America. Shoot him, schnell! And the co-pilot has his Luger out, and but Cap knocks them both out with this shield before that could happen. Sorry, cats and jammers. I hate to be shot at. This costume gets awfully drafty with holes in it. That's funny, Cap. Ach du lieber. They'll stay out.
I'm still hung up on Katzenjammer.
I know, right?
The
Katzenjammer kids.
What is that?
You never heard of the Katzenjammer kids?
No, I don't think I had. It means cat's whale. So that doesn't sound like an endearing term to name your children. Sure, it's not cat's pajamas.
Yeah. So the Katzenjammer kids, it was a comic strip, and it ran from 1914 to 1949.
All right.
And it was an American comic strip, but it did have like these little German kids. Anyway, look it up.
Huh. All right.
Wow, I can't believe I knew something from that time period that you didn't. That's awesome. A first.
Yeah, that's another penguin. Just jumped right off into the water.
They'll stay out long enough for me to reach Greymoor Castle, where Bucky is being held prisoner. Even though I know he's being held to bait me a trap for me, I can't let him down. I've got to free him. And then what's the little asterisk there, Bob?
Oh, remember how magnificently we explained the whole bit last ish? Stan.
And now this is where we left off. So from here on in, you're on your own, just like Cap. I hated to run out of the Rangers assault force, but our mission had already ended, and there's no telling what danger Bucky may be in. They are the Dover Cliffs now. If I could just make a landing before being shot down as a Nazi. What are the Dover Cliffs, Bob?
The White Cliffs of Dover?
Yeah.
Yeah, these magnificent, gigantic. I don't know if are they limestone. I'm not sure what they're comprised of, but they're very large cliffs, maybe like 200 feet tall, 300 feet tall, along the southern coast of England.
Okay. Meanwhile, in the most desolate part of the Britain stands Greymoor Castle, home of the traitorous Cedric Rawlings. A radio report was just received from Berlin. Captain America has commandeered one of our Me I-09s or 109?
It's a 109, yeah.
Is it ME or me?
ME.
ME?
ME.
ME 109s. That means he learned of Bucky's capture and he's on his way here to attempt a rescue. Cedric de Rawlings. Now you have no further need for the boy. You may dispose of him, Doctor. Not yet, Major Uberhart. He will still prove useful when our victim arrives. I shall show you. Captain America has been known to triumph over impossible odds before, but his young partner shall be our ace in the hole. Bah, you worry needlessly, Doctor. That masked buffoon cannot defeat us. Perhaps not, Major, but even the Red Skull has learned better than to take chances with Captain America. Come this way. The Red Skull himself ordered me to cooperate with you in this venture, Doctor. Otherwise, I would take no orders from a traitor such as you. Call me what you will. When I have triumphed over America's most famous hero, you'll whistle a different tune. As soon as our unsuspecting visitor tries to rescue the boy, this hidden tank of sleep gas will finish him. No, Cedric, don't do it. There's still time to divorce yourself from this whole shameful plot. I beg of you. Celia, I ordered you to remain in your room. Return there at once. But think what you're doing. You're throwing away everything you've ever held dear. You're betraying your own country. My country, indeed. All I have to show for years of work is this. And he takes off his glove. And what's he showing, Bob?
He's really hung up about his mechanical hand, Rick. He apparently lost his hand in a lab accident caused by his dear sister, Cecilia. And he's not over it.
Cecilia, you're breaking my hand. All I have to show for years of work is this, caused by your carelessness in the lab years ago. I know the accident was my fault, Cedric. That's why I have remained here at your side all this time. But that doesn't justify your treason. I've heard enough. My own nation has refused to recognize my great talents, but the Nazis are willing to pay handsomely for my help.
Rick, what if that mechanical hand is in fact another glove? Because inside that is a really, 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 really tiny hand. That she accidentally shrunk his hand with.
Oh, that's a good point, because he was working on shrinking Cap and Bucky.
Yeah. It's got a little tiny, tiny hand.
You know, there are some advantages to having a really small hand, Bob. Everything looks bigger when you hold it.
Yeah, you get a hamburger. Right, yeah.
The female can prove dangerous to our cause. It would be wise for her to be silenced. You forget yourself, Major. She is my sister, and I am still in charge. Now, I suggest you carry out the rest of your assignment. That would be all. Schweinhund, you will regret these words one day. Minutes later, Major Uberhart broadcast a radio message over a special frequency. Hackjohn, Captain America. If you wish to see the one you call Bucky alive again, you will fly the plane you have seized the Greymoor Castle within an hour. So, I shall now broadcast the exact coordinates to you. Quickly, Major, before British intelligence discovers our wavelength. And in the low-flying Nazi bomber above the cliffs of Dover, that message was beamed right to the ship. They know I'm here. But there can be no turning back now. And then, suddenly, British night fighters attacking me. No time to explain. I've got to outmaneuver them. Wow, Bob. There's a bullet coming right through the window, going underneath Cap's arm.
Yeah.
That's a close call.
That is a close call. That could have been a flesh wound.
Mm-hmm. With the skill and daring which have made his name a household word throughout the world, Captain America hedge hops, skims over rooftops, between barrage balloons, under bridges, until at last I've lost him. Now I've just enough fuel left to reach Greymoor Castle. Thus, following the coordinates he had been given by the Nazi, Cap brings his plane down on a makeshift field, hence hewn between a tangled forest of gnarled ancient trees. I made it, but the most dangerous part still lies ahead. They know what to expect, while I don't. They might be watching me right now, but I can't delay any longer. I've got to head for the castle. So he jumps out of the plane. He's racing through the woods. It's really dark and it's late. Maybe it's midnight. No one said anything. They'll be expecting me to try every trick in the book. There's only one way I might take them by surprise. A direct frontal assault is what they'd least expect. So that's what they'll get. Luckily, it's easy to get hand and toe holds on the stone walls of these age-worn castles. So far, so good. At least the exterior isn't booby-trapped. No sign of life, yet they must know I'm here. That means they're still waiting to spring their trap. Whatever is waiting for me behind that door, if I move fast enough, rush it with unexpected speed, I might be able to evade it. I must do it. There's no other way. Nothing here except Bucky. And he makes a loud noise while busting down the door, Bob.
Wham!
He's facing the door for a reason. It must be a trap. But the room's deserted. If anyone was hiding behind the door, slamming against the wall took care of him. Don't worry, kid. I'll get you out of this. I'll have you untied in no time. He's trying to warn me of something, but what? And then, with the experience of 1,000 battles behind him, with the caution and cunning of one who has been both the hunter and the hunted, Cap puts the pieces together in a split second. The Nazis are masters of the booby trap. If they've planted one here, then Bucky is certain to be the bait. He stopped. He suspects it's up to you, Uberhart. But then, who runs out, Bob?
It's Cecilia.
Cecilia, you're running out now.
You're ruining our plan
for later. Oh, Cecilia. All right. No, you can't kill him. Run, Captain America. You haven't a chance. They're watching you. Come back here. Very well, then. Since you gave the game away, you can play a part in it. I'll use you as my shield while I attack him. And he takes out his Luger and he fires at Cap's, and it hits his shield and makes a noise, Bob. Ka-ping! True to your cowardly tradition to the end, eh, Nazi? Courage is for fools, American. All that matters is to win. More of them. They were hiding in suits of armor. Oh, look at that, Bob. It's like the suits of armor came to life.
Wow.
If only we had seen them previously to that, because we hadn't. That's the first time we're seeing those suits of armor other than the cover.
Right. Yeah.
Look out! He sees you! Ack! Dumb calves! And he takes to the knights, I'll call them. Sure. And he pushes them together and they hit heads and makes a noise, Bob. I hate to seem like an ungrateful guest, but you boys could sure make a fellow feel unwanted. And he uses his shield to break the spear of one of them. Even you cannot defeat all of us. And a guy with a mace with a whole bunch of spikes on it comes up, but Cap turns and puts his shield up. Maybe not, Fritz. And it makes a noise, Bob. But I'm sure going to give it the old school try. And the next panel, he turns and he gives an uppercut. And he hits the knight and he falls back, losing control of his mace. And it makes a sound effect, Bob. Huh? Try again. You think it's thok?
I don't know. It's T-H-O-K. What would you pronounce that as?
Thok.
Thok. Maybe it's just talk. Maybe the H is silent.
Could be. Could be.
Maybe the T and the H are silent and it's just, oh.
Well, I know it's not. I know it's not whatever the heck you were doing.
I think it's a very inappropriate sound effect for.
Yeah, well, you sound like you were clear. Well, yeah, what you way you were doing it surely sounds like you're clearing your throat or something. All right, I'll give you one more try, Bob.
All right, I don't know what to tell you. Oh!
Sure.
Well, it feels like we're talking Klingon here.
Bunglers, Schweinhands. He's making fools of all of you. I have seen enough. The rest of you, come out of hiding. My patience is at an end. And all of a sudden, he's getting fired at from all different directions. And he's got a shield up, but it's making all kinds of sound effects, Bob.
No. I feel like I have Tourette's.
I know what you mean. Back up. A gas mask. They must be planning to, I'm caught in a crossfire. Without my shield, I wouldn't have stand a chance. Ah, good. He cannot continue to dodge your Schmeiser fire much longer.
His Schmeiser fire?
His Schmeiser fire. His shield is everywhere, like a thing alive. No matter, his minutes now are numbered. If I could just fend that burp gun fire off long enough to free Bucky, and he goes over to help Bucky. What's a burp gun fire, Bob?
A burp gun, I guess, is just a little automatic weapon. I think it sounded like it was like, the sound of the bullets leaving the barrel sounded like burping. Yeah.
You want to give a sound effect of burping?
No, I cannot do that. Cannot do that.
And so, but just as Cap's eager fingers reach the strap buckles, gas, choking me, can't breathe. And there in that smoke-filled room, his fighting heart still unwilling to surrender, America's matchless champion slumps to the floor as a wave of darkness engulfs him. At last, he has succumbed. Now quickly, before he recovers. Tie him securely. None have ever kept him captive for long. Never have we fought such a foe. If not for the gas we prepared, he might have beaten us all. But now the victory is ours. Cut to the next page. Meanwhile, just across the channel, outside of a Nazi-occupied French coastal town, a powerful Wehrmacht armed forces speeds to bottle up the U.S. Rangers who have just completed their mission. Wow, Bob. That's a lot of tanks there.
That's a heavy column there. We got some tanks. We got some infantry. We see like an ambulance. So yeah, a lot going on here.
Ooh. Within minutes, heavy German artillery shells the American task force's position as the town is encircled with a band of steel. Only one avenue of escape is open to the outnumbered Rangers, and they head for it with grim determination. Fall back to the beach. Keep low and move. Don't stop or anything. We've been lucky so far. Our platoon is intact. Every man's accounted for except, hey, what about Rogers? Anyone see what happened to Private Rogers? Last I saw, he was still in the communications building, Sarge. But I checked it before we cleared out. It was empty. I knew he was a gold brick, but I never thought Rogers would turn deserter. What's a gold brick, Bob?
It's a gold brick is something that's heavy and just sits around, hard to move.
Is that a term? I mean, it seems like a term from that time period.
Mm.
Did you just like come up with that definition?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Yeah.
All right. Nicely done.
Yeah.
And even as a bitter Sergeant Duffy speaks, the man he suspects of desertion is a helpless captive in the dungeon of Greymoor Castle. Release my sister, Major. I shall attend to Captain America and Bucky now as planned. Your sister tried to betray us. She shall share their fate. What? You would dare? And then Major turns and punches the scientist. I am only answerable only to the Red Skull. I dare anything. Now that the Verdamt Americans are my prisoners, your experiments mean nothing to me. You were only tolerated because we needed you in order to trap Captain America. But I helped you. I betrayed my own country for you. You cannot do this to me. Be thankful that I spare your life. Even that is too great a reward for one who commits treason. And now, our 3 prisoners shall go for a little ride, straight to the heart of London. You mean the fate too? No, you can't. Not my sister, not her. Without deigning to reply, the triumphant Nazi officer issues a crisp command, and a section of floor rolls back, revealing, it was most ingenious of you to use your castle as a silo for our V2 missile. Night war, Dr. Rawlings. Achtung! Load them aboard. Schnell! Schnell! Major, not my sister too, please. Silence, Rawlings. You begin to worry me. But she has done nothing. It is I who am to blame. Do not harm her. But think how glorious her end will be. She will be in such famous company. And her name will be remembered always, for she will be the rocket which blows up London when it lands at 10 Downing Street, where Churchill lives. Prepare to fire a rocket. What more can we say except to tell you that Suspense 71 goes on sale the beginning of August. Reserve your copy now. It's a blockbuster.
Ooh. Hey, Rick, I looked it up. Gold brick does
brick
not mean what I said.
That's all right, Bob. I'm going to go with your meaning anyway.
All right.
All right, Bob. What's it mean?
It means something that looks valuable, but in fact is worthless.
It's a brick painted gold.
Yes.
All right, Bob. So we're getting here the last part of the story. And it is Tales of Suspense 71. This had a cover date of November 1965. And it had a release date of August 10th. The creators for this one, writer Stan Lee, penciler Jack Kirby, more like layouts, and then George Tuska once again. But actually, so this is like a 3-part, right? So before we had Jack Kirby doing layouts, and then George Tuska was doing like the finishing. And he was actually given kind of like they said he was doing the art. Now Jack Kirby is doing layouts, Tuska is doing the penciling, and inking is Joe Sinnott. Interesting. So if anybody ever gets art, like original page of art from this, which would be amazing because it's so old, but it would be interesting to see the style, you know, and how different this is from, say, the previous issue or even the one before that. Letterer is Sam Rosen. Once again, colorist is not mentioned. Bob, take us through the cover.
No, Rick, I'm not. It's Iron Man. It's just Iron Man and Titanium Man, and Iron Man slugging him in the face. That's what you get. What price victory? It's Iron Man. It's a cool cover. It's a good slug shot.
It is. Yeah, Cap's not on it.
But Cap's not on it.
All right. Oh my God, I just sounded like Bob. No. But we've been around too long.
I have reminds me, I had this professor who specialized in Korean history, Korean politics when I was studying national security affairs at the Naval Postgraduate School. And I used to be able to do a great impression of him. My wife loved it because she was in the same class. And he'd be like, okay, today we're going to talk about Korea and the political system. And you probably will like it. You may not, but we're going to talk about it. And just try to stay with me. And it was really hard to stay with him. So yeah, maybe true, may not.
I almost thought you were doing a character on South Park.
Oh right, yeah, Mr. What's his name?
Okay.
Mr. Yeah, my son loves that one.
Okay,
he does that one great.
Yeah. All right. All right, so let's get to this. Let's get to the opening title splash page. And what is the title of this one, Bob?
When You Lie Down with Dogs.
Yowzers. You get fleas, right?
That's the saying.
Yeah. It's memory refresher time again. Here's where we left off last ish. Dr. Cedric Rawlings, the traitorous lord of Greymoor Castle, has allowed the Nazis to secretly construct a V2 missile silo within his castle. But when his sister Celia tries to aid Captain America, Nazi Major Uberhart orders that she too be placed inside the rocket along with the two unconscious adventurers. And so we have essentially here a group of Nazi soldiers that are pulling an unconscious Captain America, who they're dragging him kind of like on his butt, and he's got his shield on his chest, and they're just kind of pulling him and to, I guess, the missile. And
except they're not, Rick. They're holding him in the air. Don't you find that odd?
Yeah.
Like nobody's holding his left leg. It's still in the air.
Yeah. It's kind of like maybe it's like an action, right? He's going so fast. The legs still up in the air.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to help.
I know you're trying. They got like the two guys got his forearms, and the guy in the back got his right leg, but nobody's holding up the left leg. But it's like rigor mortis is set in.
It's like the cover to Captain America 100. Don't get me started.
All right. Okay.
All right. We must hurry before he wakes up from their sleep class. Ja, you said glass. It is gas. Dummkopf. Ja, if not for the gas, he would have fought us all. Mach schnell! Get him into the rocket immediately. Within seconds, we shall fire it directly at 10 Downing Street, leveling the home of Churchill, and half of London as well. Boy, they just keep wanting to give out Churchill's address.
They certainly do. Yeah.
You know what? I mean, 20 years later, give the man some rest, shall we?
We call this doxing today. It's not allowed.
Doxing?
Doxing. That's like giving off the personal information, like the address or the phone number for somebody. Yeah.
How do you spell doxing?
It's like D-O-X-I-N-G. Doc. I don't know if there's two X's.
What's it stand for, short for?
I don't know. It's like social media speak, social media lingo. It's like gaslighting, doxing, all these terms.
Oh, no, gaslighting is completely something that is a legitimate word and expression that
it is, but so is doxing now. Look it up, my friend. Look it up. Yeah.
I'm not going to waste our listeners' time. Hold on. Let me pause here. I'm going to look up
I know
doxing.
Somebody's going to look it up. Don't worry, somebody's going to make a comment in the Facebook group. I know who you are, and I'm expecting you to comment on this.
With a screenshot.
Yes.
Action! Bring the girl and Bucky. Schnell! Schnell! You know, the listeners are probably like, wow, Rick. you put a lot in this. I just do it for Bob's reaction.
Yes, and I know he does, so.
Written with the passion of Stan Lee, laid out with the power of Jack Kirby, penciled with the punch of George Tuska, inked with the prowess of Joe Sinnott, lettered with the pen point of Sam Rosen. Within seconds, the narrow steel door of the awesome V2 slides open, ready to receive its helpless passengers. No, you can't do it. You mustn't. I've worked for you. Betrayed my own nation for you. You can't send my sister to her doom. On the contrary, Rawlings, we can do it, and we shall. She attempted to save our enemies, and to a Nazi, that is an unforgivable crime. Cedric, I beg of you, stop your useless pleading. We cannot think of ourselves with all of London in danger. At least let us meet our fate with dignity. Major Oberhart, listen. She's all I have. I've renounced my friends, my countrymen, my nation. You can't take her from me also, not after all I've done for you. Take your hands off me, Rawlings. You are a traitor to your own country. We owe you nothing except our scorn and eternal contempt. I don't get that in this part of the story, Bob. Like, I mentioned it 2 issues ago when they were in the car, right? And they were talking about the traitorous Rawlings, right? And then everybody keeps mentioning he's a traitor. In fact, one of the titles of the story about being a traitor, right? Like, it seems like Stan's really hammering home this fact that he's a traitor.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's just like being thrown in our face over and over and over again. And quite frankly, I don't get it, because I can understand the Nazi officer is like, hey, I don't like the way he talked to me, so now I'm going to get back at him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to say like, no, you're a traitor to your country, we're not going to deal with you. No, you asked him to be a traitor to his country. He agreed to be a traitor to his country. You paid him to be a traitor to his country. And now you're going to throw it in his face over and over and over again? I don't get it.
That's the Nazis for you, man. I don't know. I mean, I get your point. But I also, a little bit of me is like, oh yeah, I could see this guy. He's very nationalistic, right? He's a Nazi, the Third Reich, the whole thing. The future going to rule for 1,000 years. Everybody else is inferior, and this guy, he can't even he's not going to be a Nazi. He's not going to be a German, right? He's got one strike against him, and then he couldn't even be loyal to his own inferior country, right? He even betrayed that. So he's even lower. At least you could respect somebody who fought for your country. But this guy didn't even do that. He wouldn't even do that. So, as a soldier, I could see him finding that very distasteful.
Okay.
But I'm thinking only if Rollins had invested some time and energy into adding some capabilities to that metal hand of his.
Like Tony Stark.
Yeah, because it seems completely useless here. He's holding on to Major Uberhart, right? And if he had some he could just maybe use that hand in some way to overcome these guys. But
or maybe he just takes off the metal part and just takes the little small tiny hand and rubs it up against his face.
Like that SNL skit. You remember that one? The singers. Yeah.
All right. I still think though, I think Stanley's trying to tell us something here. I think he's really force feeding something. I think he's don't fall for it, people. Don't fall for it, because look, you could be promised all these things and then they'll turn on you.
Right. there may be some lesson at play here that he's trying to make. Think of the times when this was written, 1965, right? What's going on, right? Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
We're out of the Red Scare era, but we're heading into Vietnam. Lots of people starting to get agitated, protesting about that. So I don't know. Maybe he's trying to like make a point here about like my country, right or wrong. At least don't be a traitor. Don't go against your country. I don't know.
I love the fact what you bring to this podcast when you're doing history. You're like, here's the historical thing of what's going on in 1965. I'm like, Hogan's Heroes debut.
There you go. Yes. Ebony and ivory. It's like us, man.
Lock the sniveling coward in one of the dungeon cells. He is no further use to us. With the defeat of Captain America and the destruction of London, we shall have scored our greatest victory for the fatherland. We shall return to be acclaimed as heroes. And you will remain and dare to reflect upon what fool you were to trust us. See?
Mm-hmm,
all right, Stan, we got it. You'll pay for this. Somehow, I swear it. I'll have my revenge. Meanwhile, just as Cap is about to be placed within the fateful missile. Donnerwetter, watch your step, dummkopf. I stumbled. I am dropping Captain America. What does it matter? One or two more bruises will soon make no difference to him. But as the fallen crusader lies upon the floor, we begin to wonder whether the Nazi who carried him did stumble accidentally, quote unquote. By shifting my weight suddenly at the right instant, I was able to accomplish what I wanted. Now I can keep them from realizing that I've already recovered from the sleep gas. Don't just stand there. Pick him up again. Ach, he is heavier than one would suspect. And yet he does not have an ounce of excess fat upon him. Nein, it is just plain muscle. What an athlete he was made. Wow.
That's okay. Hands to yourself, gentlemen. All right.
Okay, guys.
Yep. Okay. Party's over.
Let's stop undressing him with your eyes. Once the missile is fired, he will be remembered only as a symbol of freedom's defeat. His power cannot help him now. But then, as if to punctuate the Nazi officer's callous words, 180 pounds of fighting fury explodes in their midst. What?
Yeah, what is right? 180 pounds?
He ain't 180 pounds.
No.
Bob, you're over 180 pounds, aren't you?
Oh, by a margin. Yeah, I am. Oh my gosh, 180 pounds. He's like 6'4", isn't he?
Yeah. Isn't he like 230?
He should be at like 6'4". Yeah, 6'4", 230 if he's all muscle. Sure, yeah.
Yeah. He has recovered conscious. Look out. Himmel, what is los? Ach du Lieber. Did Stanley just break out like German cliches?
I know, he's got his little handbook. Yeah.
We delayed too long. We had time to recover, but it will do him no good. Cut him down. Use your schmeisers. Fire. What's a schmeiser?
All right, I gotta look it up. I gotta look up schmeiser. I am not familiar with this. Oh, schmeiser. Okay, a schmeiser gun.
What is a schmeiser gun?
Schmeiser gun. Did he spell it right? So it's an M40. Oh, okay. Yes, an M40. It's a M40. A machine pistol is a submachine gun with 19 millimeter parabellum cartridge used in Nazi Germany. All right, yeah, that's what they're shooting. So, well, what do you know?
All right, but now you have a picture of that you just looked up. Now look at the at the
It's
panel.
exactly, that's what it is.
Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. MP40s.
Well, good for Tuska
Yeah.
to know what a Schmeiser looks like.
Yeah.
Back in the day, pre-internet. He actually had to do some research for that, I'm sure.
Probably did, but that, you know, having been so much closer to that time, they were probably, you know, probably a lot more familiar with like if you said, oh, what's an M16 look like? Well, you probably have seen a picture of an M16 in a magazine.
Yeah, I know what an M16
right?
looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. Back
Only
then,
because I was a G.I. Joe Real American Hero fan.
Right. But I mean, they probably saw a lot of posters and magazine articles with pictures of Nazis in them.
But to be fair, I also know what a stormtrooper's pistol looks like.
Like a stormtrooper.
Yeah, from Star Wars. Yeah,
from Star Wars. Okay, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I also know what Han Solo's pistol looks like too.
There you go. Right.
Yeah, he is so fast. There is no time to aim. Slow down. Aim carefully, you bunglers. He is making fools of you. And sure enough, Cap's doing somersaults as the bullets are missing him. My only chance is to keep dodging and ducking. But how long can I keep it up? But he gets behind a little bit of a wall on the floor just ahead of me, my shield. But the firing is too heavy. I could never reach it. And there's a lot of sound effects going on here, Bob, with the bullets flying.
Well, there sure are, Rick. A lot of baka 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 pa-ting, baka baka. Yeah, a lot going on. You know, it got me thinking earlier about the burp gun. And I'm trying to think to myself, what would a burp gun sound like? And I know it in like my head what a burp gun sounds like. And what it sounds like, and I guess they probably didn't want to call it this, but a burp gun is really a misnomer. It's more like a fart gun. But I guess nobody wanted to like say, throw me the fart gun, you know? The burp gun sounds like kind of cooler, right? But it really does sound like
it?
Yeah, it does sound like a whole series of small combustible farts, you know, being released, you know, like that, you know, that's not a burp, right? No, it doesn't sound at all like a burp, but it does sound like the other end.
I'm sorry. I'm still going over your waka waka waka, like Fozzie the Bear was here or something.
Nice call out.
He comes up, he's like, a waka waka waka.
Oh goodness.
Captain America, listen to me. Surrender, or else we shoot your young partner. He has no other choice. But the deafening roar of gunfire has also caused Bucky Barnes to shrug off the effects of the sleep gas sooner than expected. And can't let Cap throw in the towel on account of me. I've got to move fast. My only hope is to cause a diversion. One judo chop ought to do it. And sure enough, he judo chops the guy who's holding him slung over his shoulder. Cap, hang on. Don't give in to him. I'm okay. Keep fighting. Bucky, good boy. Now take cover. Quick. I hope this crap will serve me as a shield long enough for me to grab his pistol. Ah, got it. You are both fighting a hopeless battle. We Nazis hold all the cards. Do they refer to themselves like that? We Nazis. I don't know. I guess so, right?
It seems very formal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we got the cards.
Yeah? Well, hold them tight, mister. You'll be needing them before you know it. Wow, that's telling them, Bucky. That says, Bucky, keep firing as you back away towards me. It gave me a chance to get my shield back. Well, not really. It's more like Bucky is handing him the shield, isn't he? Oh, I guess.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah. Better think of something fast, Cap. This popgun's almost out of ammo. They must be in the same boat. So here goes. Keep firing, lad. Be sure to make every shot count. I'll do the rest with my shield. It's our turn now. I hear you talking, partner. And he throws the shield, and it ricochets and knocks the heads of two of the German soldiers, and it makes a loud noise, Bob.
Whiz, whiz, bling.
Geronimo.
Geronimo. That's Geronimo's brother. He didn't, not quite so historically significant.
Geronimo. Stay with it, boy, while I scooped up my shield again. Quick, stop him before he can retrieve his accursed weapon. Stop me? Oh, come on, you guys. You got to be kidding. And he takes his shield and he runs into 3 of them and knocks them over like bowling pins. That makes a loud noise, Bob. Too bad, Captain America. I applaud your courage, but again, it is to no avail. You will notice that Celia Rawlings is still my hostage. Need I say more? My life means nothing. You must destroy them. See how they pause? Even though you ask for no mercy, the stupid American code of honor will cause their downfall. We can't let them murder her, and yet, if we give up, nothing can stop that missile from destroying London. Listen to me. I deserve no mercy. I helped my brother. I, too, am a traitor. But then, when the confidently smirking Nazis least expect it, look out! I'll make the decision for them. I'll make them keep fighting. And so she's, going at one of them, in his gun, and then she's kicking the other one in the shin. Come on the back, you. Oh, Bucky, she's broken free. Now's our chance. I've been aching to do this since I first set eyes on you. You don't shut your eyes too soon. But don't shut your eyes too soon. There's more where this came from. And he comes up and he gives him a big right cross, Bob.
Whoa!
Miss Rawlings, get out of the way. I'll take care of that crowd. He's got a gun. He tried to shoot Captain America. If I let his hand go, he'll use it. You saved his life, but will you do more? But you will do no more for them. I warned you. And then the gun goes off, Bob.
Crack!
And there's a look on her face of shock. And she says, "Oh, Miss Rawlings, you yellow coward. You didn't have to do that. You're trigger happy like all Nazis." It's overlap. They're beaten. The missile will never strike London now. And then Cap goes over and he picks up Celia. Before the end comes, I must tell you, there was a radio message. Task force of Rangers, trapped over channel, need help, will be wiped out. No one knows. Their wireless gone. Rangers. Must be my unit. I thought they were safe. German reinforcements must have arrived. I'll try to find her brother. He's a doctor. Maybe he can save her. Let me out. I demand to be freed. You cannot do this to me. I'll have my revenge. I'll destroy you all. Let me out. Let me out. At ease, Rawlings. I'll have you out in a minute. Your sister needs you. Come on, traitor. You've got a lot of making up to do, and you could start by trying to save your sister's life. Save her? You mean that shooting I heard? Did she? Oh, no. No. Take me to her. Hurry. Hurry. Celia, is she? She's alive, Rawlings, but just barely. I need my medical kit. You must get it. No, Cedric. It is too late for that. It is too late for anything anymore. I did this to you. It was my fault because of the hatred in my heart, the bitterness. I blamed my country for my own shortcomings. I betrayed everything good and decent, and now it is you who are paying for it. You wouldn't listen, Cedric. I tried to help you, to tell you, but now you'll be alone. Now there's no one to help. Don't leave me, Celia. I'll make it up to you. I'll undo everything I'll Celia. In a war, Bucky, Many people suffer. It isn't necessary to be in the armed forces to be a casualty. Seconds later, as they pulled together all the Nazi bodies, this is the last of them, Cap. They'll be nice and stuck in here till the MPs arrive to claim them. But there's another matter to attend to now, Bucky. The ranger unit I slipped away from in order to reach Greymoor Castle is in trouble. Nazi reinforcements have them trapped across the channel. I know our battle strategy. Our troops will have headed for the coast. They're probably holding off the enemy right now with their backs to the sea. Unless I can find some way to save them, I'll live with the knowledge that I deserted them when I was needed most. But you thought the mission was over. You thought they were safe and you were needed here. It wasn't your fault, Cap. It doesn't matter. All that counts is rescuing them. And there's only one way to do it in time. Then, after Cap has quickly explained his daring plan, Rawlings is the only one who could pull it off. But will he? Of course I will do it. Somehow I think he will. I would do anything to avenge my sister's death, to strike back at those cowardly swastika-wearing swine. But there must be no error, no slip-ups. Too many lives are at stake. Mine was the brain that helped create the V2. If anyone can do it, I can. Then we have no more time to waste. The Nazis plan to use that missile, and now it will be used. And mine will be the hand to guide it. I shall not fail. Follow me. The guidance control room is down these steps. I'll have to compute the trajectory to within a hair's breadth of our objective. Right. The slightest error could be fatal to our own men. Then, after moments of tense computations, hold it. I want to double-check your calculations. You? What do you know of such technical things? If there's anything Cap doesn't know, I'd like to see it. All right, Rawlings. This rocket's altitude seems to be correct. I'm satisfied. Now it's up to you. You will not be disappointed. I wanted to strike back at the Nazis even more than you do. Stand by for the countdown. 10, 9, 8. And then they get to 0 and the rocket leaves the castle. But no sooner has the V2 rocket been launched than a second deafening explosion rocks the underground control room. And it makes a loud noise, Bob.
Phew!
I did it. I set those explosives, which ignited the stored rocket fuel. And he looks a little crazed, doesn't he, Bob?
Sure does.
As the flames are all around him. The shock was too much for Rawlings. He's gone mad. Cap, the whole castle is crumbling. We got to get out. We can't leave those Nazis locked in the dungeon. They won't have a chance. We've got to look out. We'll never make it. There's another explosion. It tore the dungeon door right off its hinges. The prisoners are free. Look, Captain America and Bucky. Kill them before we escape. Hear that, Cap? Those are the guys you were worried about. Stay back. Don't come any closer. Watch out. You cannot save yourselves that way. We will... And Cap and Bucky jump out the window. The fools. I tried to warn them. It's over. Rawlings got his wish at last. And the whole castle blows up, Bob.
Boom!
They were willing to sacrifice countless innocent lives in London. But their plan is ashes. And Britain still stands. At that very moment, a mighty rocket falls across the channel, shattering the Nazi armored force which had been driving the Rangers into the sea. Dazed and bewildered, the surviving Nazis retreat en route from the smoking ruins. Thus, a battle ends, as the tide is turned in the fortunes of war. And somewhere on the coast of France, a beleaguered Ranger task force gets a new lease on life, never suspecting that they've been saved by a masked man across the channel, a man armed only with a shield, and an unquenchable thirst for freedom.
Well,
all right.
Diggity dog.
The end, Bob. All right. Before we get into favorite panel and all that, just thoughts on this story.
Well, interesting story, fun story. I didn't realize so much activity was going on in Britain during World War II. So many Nazis afoot. But typical, tales of suspense, World War II story. Lots of action, lots of great fighting panels, and certainly, you said it's 20 years after the war, but I think it's pretty neat how much German Stan has woven into the dialogue in this story. That's kind of fun, I think. Maybe fun back then, maybe too raw, maybe too soon. But certainly now looking back, I think it's kind of neat to hear all those German words and try to figure out what the heck they mean.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of funny because I started with the show with Hogan's Heroes, right? And I've often joked, but it's absolutely true. All the German I know, I learned from that TV series.
Right. Yeah.
And so, but it's interesting back in 1965 that there was this pop culture interest in that time period, right? I mean, Hogan's Heroes was a huge hit.
Yeah.
A TV show.
Sure was. Yeah.
Then you've got Cap making a comeback, and you had Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos at that time. There was an interest in this time period, and there was an interest in having Nazis as the villain. And I think it's because there's no easier villain than a Nazi.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I mean, here it is. 80 years later, and we still refer to Nazis as like one of the worst thing you could possibly be.
Right. But that makes it all the more interesting that in 1965, somebody thought it would be okay, and apparently it was because it was popular, to make Nazis funny.
Well, I think, when you can make something funny, you take away their power.
Well, true. Yeah.
And when you make them humorous, you make them less scary. You make them less powerful. You belittle them in some ways. So yeah, I don't know.
Probably was kind of raw for a lot of folks, a lot of veterans, a lot of obviously the Jewish population to see such a lighthearted treatment of Klink and who's the sergeant?
Schultz.
Yes. Yeah. So, but I think you're right. Maybe a renewed interest, 20 years on, and finally it's okay to start making Nazis characters again. Because obviously during the 50s, it wasn't the Nazis, it was the communists.
Yes, exactly.
Right. That sort of had center stage, and that sort of wore itself out, and it was safe to go back to the tried and true.
All right. Well, I've already kind of given my thoughts on the story as we've kind of gone through it, with just, I think Stan was really hitting home about being a traitor, and it was really coming through loud and clear in my mind. I thought it was a okay story, fine story. I think it was perfect for 1965. I think, if you, you wanted to see Cap in action, you wanted to see Bucky again, right? So this is where you were going to see it, going into a period piece, a period story, and looking at that time frame. But yeah, I mean, like, outside of the Nazis, the main villain was a scientist who turned traitor, and they just kept hammering that home. But it was interesting. They referred to the Red Skull plenty of times, but we never saw him.
Yeah, that's right. Always in the background. I think it's, like you said, Nazis, traitor, no ambiguity, right? Typical of stories of this time. Very, very cut and dry. good guys, bad guys, action, so, and something it's kind of missed that sometime, that sort of the purity of the stories.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of folks do. So,
all right. Well, so on favorite panel, Bob, I actually, I go first this time.
All right. What's your favorite panel, Rick?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Bob. I'm going to go, actually, all of my favorites are going to be from issue 70.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so my favorite panel, I'm just going to look, as far as the story is concerned, it's going to be the fifth page from this Cap story, and it's going to be panel number 1. I liked this panel, which showed Cap in motion and in action as he is running and leaping through a dark woods coming out of the Nazi plane, which is in the background. And I liked the motion of it, the way his legs were cocked, the way his arms were in front of him and the shield up in there. And then you see the details of the grass blades and the roots of the tree. It just seemed like of all the panels, and it's a horizontal panel. It goes across the whole page, and it's the top 1/3 of the page. I don't know. I like this panel.
I do too. When I first saw it, Rick, I thought of myself, like I could see myself running through the woods like that at night. And then I realized immediately what separates me from Cap is I would immediately trip.
Of course. 100%.
100%.
I agree 100% you would trip. All right, Bob, what's your favorite panel?
All right. Well, I'm going with the title splash to issue 71. That's that panel where they're carrying Cap and he's got all 4, limbs splayed, and it's inexplicable why his left leg is up in the air. But the thing I like about this is in the foreground, facing the reader, we see Major Uberhard, and he's saying Achtung, this is such a typical Kirby composition. He uses this a lot. Where you've got like the head of the guy in right up against the front of the panel looking at the reader. And I know I've seen this before over and over and over again in Kirby compositions, but it's really effective because it really does sort of bring the viewer, the reader, into the story as if the character who's there is talking directly to you. And I like that. There's a great poster that Kirby has done. And I think Alex Ross did sort of a revisit of it. And it's got the Nazi officer right up front like this, very similar composition, right?
Yeah.
And I could have swore at some point in one of the stories, remember the Schwein?
Yes.
There's a page that has him like this. And it's just so Kirby. I like that. I like it.
Yeah. All right. Nicely done. I like that. Good choice. What is your t-shirt worthy?
Well, my t-shirt worthy is I'm going with issue 70.
Careful.
I'm going with the splash page. The title splash page again.
Two title splash pages in a row.
I do. I like this one. I like Cap's in the plane and he's holding on to one of the girders on the fuselage frame, and he's swinging up and kicking one of the Nazi officers in the face. But I love the "if this be treason" title bubble that is above that, and I think that would be great on a shirt. I'd like that.
Okay,
I love going out in a t-shirt talking about treason.
Yeah, but Bob, listen, you know what?
Conversation
starter. Just don't. We all know it would sit somewhere in a drawer because you'd be afraid of wearing it out.
Well, you're right. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Listen, I'm just excited that I got to hear the word fuselage today.
Yeah, I did that just for you. So how about you? T-shirt worthy.
Well, guess what, Bob? It's in issue 70.
All right.
And I'm going to go with the 7th page.
I almost went there.
I'm going with panel number 4.
Uppercut.
I'm going to go with the uppercut panel where Cap is coming up.
Yeah.
And he says, but I'm sure going to give it the old school try, and knocking the knight back, and he's dropping the mace out of his hand. And then it has a sound effect that you can't do.
Yep.
And so
why I didn't pick it.
Exactly. I think that whole panel with the sound effect and the word balloon, but I'm sure going to give it the old school try. Yeah. That would be cool on a t-shirt. And of course it has a yellow background, which would really pop really nicely on a like not a white t-shirt, but like a blue t-shirt or whatever, or, something. I would like that on a t-shirt.
I had a feling you were going to pick that, because that actually that panel and the one immediately preceding it, where Cap is saying, even when the bad guy's saying, even you can't defeat us all, and Cap says, maybe not Fritz, and then it moves to the next panel you just cited. I was going to pick those two panels on a t-shirt, but I had a sense about it that you were going there. And so I went to my backup. I know, that's just who I am, Rick.
Really
that's who I am. So,
all right.
What about your time capsule?
Ooh, I'm so glad you asked. I'm going to stick with issue 70, and I'm going to go with page 9.
9.
Exactly. And I'm going to go with panel number 1, and that is the one that has the German troops in the ambulance and the tanks rolling over the countryside. Because I mean, you take this out of a Captain America comic book, that's a page out of history right there.
Yeah.
And so that's going into my time capsule. How about you?
Very nice. Well, Rick, I'm going with issue 69. It's actually mentioned a couple times throughout each of these 3 issues, but it's the shrinking rays, the Z-rays, and I think it's just fascinating to me. I think this was this period. Maybe there was some fascination with the idea of shrinking people. So if you remember, in 1957, the classic movie based on the Richard Matheson book, The Shrinking Man, came out, The Incredible Shrinking Man. And then actually the next year, I think this was just sort of in the milieu, if I can use that term. Do you remember The Fantastic Voyage? Great movie, right? And then there was an animated series that went from 1968 to 1969. So I like this idea of the shrinking man. And of course, that's what we see here, right? We see the Z-rays are going to shrink Cap and Bucky. Of course, it was a ploy. But I don't know. I'd like to think it was, maybe he was inspired by the Incredible Shrinking Man movie. Maybe he saw that and thought, hey, that was pretty cool. Well, like, what if we have some Z-rays that shrink Cap and Bucky? So I think it's a plucked out of time.
I like it. it. Do you think when Ron Howard did Saving Private Ryan that he used any of this as reference?
I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if he hadn't read it as a kid, right? When he's hanging out down at the barbershop
with Opie.
Yeah. Opie was hanging out at the barbershop, Oh,
no, Floyd. It was Floyd.
Floyd. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Probably had some Tales of Suspense books laying around, maybe. I don't know. And maybe thumbed through those, and they were sort of imprinted on his brain. Yeah. But no, it's a good, it's nice to think about. Like that.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
You know what, Bob? So next episode, let's do a revisit to this story. Let's go to Captain America 256. And this was a one-shot story that came out in January of 1981. Right? So we're talking, this is about 15, 16 years later. And this was right before, this was in that awkward period, which was right after the Byrne and Roger Stern, John Byrne era, and before the J.M. DeMatteis and Mike Zeck era. And there's a bunch of fill-in stories here. And this particular one was written by Bill Mantlo, but the pencils are by Gene Colan. And so it is The Ghosts of Greymoor Castle. Now, Gene Colan, as many Cap fans know, was the artist that followed Jack Kirby on Captain America back in the 60s. And he does have a little bit of a eerie, look about his artwork. So this could be a very moody, style-wise book, but it is revisiting the Greymoor Castle from Tales of Suspense.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think?
I love when folks do that. When creators do that, they sort of reach deep, deep, deep and pull something out. And I think it'd be fun to cover it.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, let's do that. That will be visiting 1981 when we come back next episode. And Bob, look, what did I promise? I promised this was going to be a short episode because, it was just 3 half pages. Just right. It was only going to be 30 measly pages, Bob.
How long could that go, really?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Mm. You and your stupid tangents, Bob.
I'm so sorry. I don't get out much. I need to that.
All right. Well, he's Bob Lucius. I'm Rick Verbanis, and hold on. Before I do that, you know what I never do? I never say, when you listen to other podcasts, I never do the, all right, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen on any of your podcasts, whatever. Yeah, guys, listen, please do. Please give us a 5-star rating, whatever you're listening on. And certainly if it's on Apple, we'll go ahead and read it on here, or Spotify. Make sure you subscribe, whatever you do. It helps us out. And we love doing these issues. We love doing these episodes. We love talking and wrapping Cap. And, as long as you guys are listening, we're going to keep doing it.
And maybe, even if you're not, we'll keep doing it.
That's true.
So
Bob does like to talk.
My wife has been gone all week, Rick. I haven't talked to anybody for a week. So.
No wonder we went long.
That's why we went long.
Okay. Again, thanks for listening to the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.